Michael, it's an honor for me to be here at your exhibition. It represents 35 years of painting on the Acquaintance River, and the Acquaintance River Museum of Art has sponsored this traveling show, and this is the inaugural location for it.
Right.
And I understand this may be the first time in a long time you've seen all 46 paintings.
It is.
What is this experience like for you to be here with your amazing work around you?
Well, they're one story, all of them. And so it's really fun to see it all together. Really gratifying to me, and I'm honored to be here. I have long roots, deep roots in OSU. I didn't go here, but I had relatives who went here. The family settled here in the valley. My father was born here, so the roots go pretty deep. I dare not stand in one place too long because my toes grow into the ground.
But you said it's one story. How would you, if somebody had never been to this part of Oregon, tell us a little bit about that, your Acquaintance story for you.
Well, the Acquaintance story came as a result of our travels. We travel a lot, my wife and I take the portable equipment with me, which got to be a real royal pain in the butt as soon as we established our homeland insecurity people. I thought, this is no fun. These people don't have a clue what's going on. And so after about the third or fourth trip abroad, I lived in England for a while. Ireland, not so long. But standing in our living room window, which is up on a low rise above the city and above the river, is right below us. I looked out the window and I said, "What's the matter with you, Doomkoff? Here you have this incredible world of beauty right out your front door. What are you going abroad for and putting up all that crap?" So we stayed home and decided to continue from here.
But these studies are all from a similar location then?
Well, they have to be from a similar location. That estuary is only about a quarter of a mile long.
Okay.
So it was a matter of where I'm going to find my vantage point.
And then when you decided to do the painting, you used many of these sketches for the ideas to put it together. Is that how it works?
Mainly for the personality of the painting itself.
Now, explain that personality of...
Yeah, one painting is not going to tell a story about an estuary. So I had made myself at home different vantage points all around that estuary, from where it drained into the Acquaintance until it came out of the hillside. What happens out there, and I've known this for years, decades as a matter of fact, is that land has a voice of its own. And you won't hear it with your ears. You hear it with your inner ears. And I advise anybody who studies with me to do that.
Your inner voice.
The inner voice. Plug into yourself. Let it speak to you. I usually tell them to sit down in a place that feels good for them. That's the important one, feel good. And if there's a bush handy, as long as it doesn't have big thorns on it, sit down beside it and hold its hand and ask it questions. How do you want to be seen? And you'll be surprised what happens.
No.
Yeah.
This is what happens.
This is what happens.
Well, you've told me you are a tree hugger. You've told me that.
A bush hugger.
You actually don't hug the trees, just the bushes.
The only one I ever really touched was that oak.
The oak tree.
Because it spoke to me while I was just getting out of the car, which said to me, "This isn't like you, Michael." I looked at that tree and said, "You're right, it's not." So I put all the equipment down and stepped in right underneath the umbrella. It's about 110 feet across, this tree. Good old Oregon white oak. Been there for well over 100 years. I walked over and the grasses underneath that tree are necessarily a certain kind of grass. They're native. They just don't have dandelions in them, things like that. So I found a good spot underneath the tree and laid down right underneath it, spread my arms out, looked up at it and said, well, tell me your story. Did I get a brain full of that? It is really interesting. Trees are a living creature. They're just like we are. They don't have legs, arms, and feet. So they can't move about. It's a good thing I don't think I'd want to wake up in the morning and find a 400-year-old, 110 feet across oak tree in my front yard.
But what did Acquaintance tell you then when you asked the Acquaintance Watershed, what do you want?
Yeah,
What-
I do that anyway, as a matter of course.
Yeah, but what did it tell you when you started?
Basically, I just let it unfold in front of me. You know, I use that launching place that the port has.
Mm-hmm.
And usually I just walk around in it for a little bit and wait for something to jump out and say, here I am,
Mm-hmm.
paint me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I do.
How long does it take you to do one of these?
A day.
So these are kind of like quick studies in a sense, huh?
Well, they're finished paintings, to be sure. And usually what happens is I take them back to my studio, which is cavernous. It's big. It's an old Methodist church. Just sit there and look at the painting for a little bit. Then you see things that didn't work as well as you had to hope they would. So a couple strokes one way or the other, and it comes together.
Do you ever make larger paintings from some of those studies? Or
Yeah,
finish?
the industrial work are the only
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah,
And then Yaquina,
yeah.
the one that hangs in Mahonia Hall.
So the large painting behind you is a reproduction of the Mahoney Hall painting, which is quite large, as I understand it.
The original painting is bigger,
Yeah.
and it hangs in the center panel of the northern wall of the dining room. Anywhere you sit at the dining room table, you can see that painting, either directly or through a mirror that's right behind where I am, which, in that particular instance, in the governor's residence, ideas are shared over a wonderful, sumptuous meal. They have a fabulous kitchen there. And then it goes to the Capitol for ironing out the wrinkles, if it's a good thing to go for. And so the dining room is key to some of the inventive things that have to go on getting ideas together. I picked a subject matter that was familiar to me. I knew the painting would be a whole lot more successful if I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the size of it was concerned, all my stretchers for that painting were custom made.
So we were talking about your formal training, and you were sort of mentioning that you are a self-taught artist.
I am.
Learning from nature, would you say?
A lot of it. And there are people all along my life way that have spotted it and said, have you thought about X? No, but thanks for the suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
And I, of course, had my own students for years too.
Mm-hmm.
I tell them the most important thing you can learn is, first of all, how to use color.
Mm-hmm.
That's a science by itself. And so I said, the other thing you need to learn is how to listen to your inner voice, not the one that talks to the wall
Mm-hmm.
or at the bathroom mirror in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them take that advice.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of them I've taken aside and told them, if you get hung up in a painting someplace and you want some advice, give me a call. Come over here.
Mm-hmm.
I'll mentor you through that process.
Mm-hmm.
That's been very successful.
So you kind of serve as your own mentor then?
I have to.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody else I can call on. The inner voice.
Mm-hmm. But a lot of the great painters of the past, you're very familiar with their work. We've talked about artists you like and works that they've done, Turner and de Monet, and so you know about the classics. And,
I do.
mm-hmm.
I've been painting since the late 70s.
Mm-hmm. And you were in Yachats at that time, is that right?
I was in Portland then.
In Portland at then, okay.
Yeah.
And did you start with landscapes, or did you?
Yeah, I ventured off into life drawings for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
In England, when I was living over there, there was a group of artists that lived in Gloucestershire, where I was, in the Cotswolds. And we would gather every weekend. One of them was assigned the duty of contracting with a model. You know, what kind of paint would you want, and blah, blah, blah. And we had one model that was our favorite because she knew what to do. She was married, had kids, very attractive,
So you're doing figure drawing.
figure drawing.
Oh. And then you moved, but were you doing landscapes when you were in Europe as well?
Yes.
You were.
I was, well, I lived the most incredible place you could imagine.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't too far on into the trip that there was a really good gallery right across the street from my flat on the A46. I've got to be well acquainted. And he represented a lot of the Scottish painters who are incredible. And so toward the end of my trip, when I was getting ready to pack up to go back home, I'd been there a couple of months already. And suddenly there was a rap at the door, and I opened the door, and it's the art dealer. He hadn't never been there. I'd been in his gallery all the time because he has those great painters on the wall. And I said, "What brings you here?" He said, "People in the village," they said, "have you seen what an American artist is doing?" No. So I came over to see. So he came over and he was dumbfounded what I'd done with what was in walking distance of where I was staying. You know, this has been quite a journey for me. I never expected anything like what happened, or even pretended I wanted it. Didn't know. And what eventually took place was in England, all kinds of people I couldn't have dreamed of meeting came out of the woodwork. And, or the forest, as the case may be. And all kinds of acquaintances were made because of that painting in England.
Yeah.
I got introduced to the Royal Academy. I didn't go there, but couldn't afford it. But, oh yeah.
How do you feel about the show traveling? Because isn't that part of the goals, to find other locations?
It is.
Shed?
I wanted the town to be acquainted with it
Yeah.
itself. And then it was Mark Hatfield that really got that started. After the studies were done and the painting, the big one, was in progress, he and Antoinette came down to our house,
Yeah.
which was not uncommon. Anyway, it was him who saw the studies and said, you know, there are a lot of people that really benefit from seeing these, to see how an artist worked. Yeah, he said, anyway, you can show these someplace? And I said, well, Mark, you know, I don't really want to do that because it would have to be in a gallery at this stage. And all they want to do is sell them. They're not for sale. Not now, not ever. They're just flat not for sale. And
So you're saying all 46 of these paintings you own,
yes,
and they've never been for sale?
never been for sale.
Okay.
They're not going to be. So that's why we have the giclées.
So we've made some very high quality giclée prints of 5 from the show, so people can purchase those and enjoy those.
It's a process, a high-tech process with archival inks on archival paper. And it's the same process that many museums use today to reproduce what's in their collection, so they can put the reproduction on the wall and put the rest of them in the vault, which is what I hope we do. So I'm headed for that. So I said, well, let me put my mind to it, Mark, because right now I can't think of a good way to do it and answer both sides of the question. So I did. Then I thought about a prestigious invitation I got some years back to become a member of the National Arts Club in New York City, located in Gramercy Park.
And then you sent a show there.
I arranged for it and had the food catered.
How many pieces were in that show?
I think only about 20.
So 20 of the Aquinas series went to New York, and it was an exhibit there.
Yes.
That was the first time anybody had seen the Aquina paintings.
No, second. The first time was at the Pacific Maritime and Heritage Museum in Newport, but that was only a handful of paintings.
Okay. So this is really the first time anybody's been able to see all 46 of them.
Oh yeah. I hadn't even painted all 46 of them yet.
Yeah.
So I just kept going. That was that same question I asked myself standing in the living room window. What are you traveling abroad for? You got everything you want right out your front window.
You've proven that, haven't you?
I've proven it.